The story begins with a young boy named Alex who lives with his mother, Leah, after she separated from his father a long time ago. Alex loves her very much. On the way to school, Alex gets a message from his friend Felix, saying that two students are following him and want to beat him up. Alex tries to get to school quickly, and when he arrives he hears Felix calling for help. Alex goes to help him. A student named Lance attacks him, punches him, and knocks him down. Alex gets very angry and fights Lance. After that, the principal gets upset with Alex and warns him he will be expelled if he acts out again. The next day, the principal makes Alex and Lance go to behavior modification classes together. During the class, Lance mocks and insults Alex. After the class, Lance and his friend Kay chase after Alex to beat him up. Alex tries to escape by running into a building under construction to hide. Suddenly, Lance and Kay find him, and Alex gets scared, accidentally falling from the top of the building. He loses consciousness. Lance and Kay think he is dead and run away quickly. But Alex wakes up and realizes he is okay because the fall wasn't far. Alex starts looking for a way out and finds a rock. He pulls a sword out of it. Alex calls Felix and asks him to meet. After that, Alex and Felix sit down to look at the sword, and Alex notices there is writing on it in Latin. Felix uses a translation app and finds out the sword comes from a city called Tenta Chill. When Alex hears this, he thinks the sword is special because his father lived there. Alex then gets a book his father gave him a long time ago. The book tells the story of a king named Arthur who fought against evil. When he died, he plunged his sword into the ground and no one could ever pull it out. Alex is convinced that this might be King Arthur's real sword, so he hides it and goes to sleep. The next day, a teacher talks to the students and introduces them to a new student named Morton. The students start mocking him because he looks older than them. At that moment, Alex is very puzzled because he notices that Morton is watching him all the time and he is afraid of him. Afterward, Morton talks to Alex and tells him that he knows Alex is the one who pulled Arthur's sword. He explains that in 4 days there will be a solar eclipse, and at that time a woman named Morgana will emerge from underground and will sweep across the entire world. Alex ignores him, thinking that Morton is a crazy person, and then leaves him and walks away. On his way home, Felix talks to Alex and wonders how Morton knew he was the owner of the sword. Alex gets very scared and decides to return the sword to its place to avoid any problems that might arise because of it. At night, Alex wakes up to a strange sound, so he goes to his room window to find out the source of the noise. He is shocked when he sees a terrifying monster emerging from the ground and approaching him. At that moment, he hears the sound of something breaking in the house. So he goes out to see what is happening. He is shocked to see that the monster is holding a sword and heading toward his room. At that moment, Alex takes Arthur's sword and stands in front of the monster to fight it. However, the monster drops the sword from his hand and almost defeats him, only for the monster to suddenly disappear. After that, Alex finds Morton lying on the ground. He talks to him and understands that Morton was the one who saved him from the monster. Morton then asks him to meet the next day at a restaurant to explain everything. Suddenly, Morton turns into a bird and leaves the place. Afterward, Alex sits down and starts reading the book his father gave him. He discovers that Morgana is King Arthur's sister, and that she had previously tried to kill him to inherit the throne. But Arthur was stronger than her, and imprisoned her underground. Unfortunately, when Alex pulled out the sword, he freed her, and now he has the task of defeating Morgana and saving the world from her evil. Alex is shocked when he finds information about an old man with magical abilities named Merlin in the book. He assumes that this old man is Morton because he turned into a bird in front of him. The next day, Leah goes to Alex's room to wake him up for school, and is shocked to find him asleep with the sword in his hand. She talks to him and understands that Arthur is a fictional character. She asks him to return the sword to the place where he found it, but Alex refuses and leaves the house. After a while, he and Felix arrive at the restaurant and talk to Morton, where Alex discovers that his real name is Merlin. Merlin explains that he disguised himself as a boy to talk to Alex without fear. He tells him that the monster that attacked him is a soldier from Morgana's army, and asks him to prepare to fight her and prevent her from destroying the world. Alex is scared and hands him the sword, explaining that he is just a child and cannot fight her. At that moment, Merlin transforms into his true form and uses his magical powers to show Alex what the world would look like if he refused to fight Morgana. Alex is shocked when he sees destruction and fire everywhere. After that, Alex returns to the place where he found the sword, talks to Felix, and feels confused about what he should do. At that moment, Lance and Kay appear and try to take the sword from him. Alex embeds the sword in the rock and makes them understand that it will be theirs if they can pull it out. Lance tries to pull the sword, but he fails. Alex tells him that he is the only one capable of pulling the sword, and he asks them to become his friends and watch him pull the sword in front of them. They agree. When Alex draws the sword, Lance attacks him, takes the sword, and mocks him. But suddenly, a soldier from Morgana's army emerges from the ground, causing the sword to drop from Lance's hand and nearly kill him. However, Alex saves him at the last moment. More soldiers emerge, and Lance throws gasoline on them and ignites it. But he is shocked when he discovers that the fire has no effect on them. Alex and his friends flee the area and are surprised when they notice the disappearance of people from the city. They discover that Morgana's appearance leads to the disappearance of humans. Suddenly, the soldiers arrive at their location and chase them. One of the soldiers hits Kay. Then Kay takes the car and tries to escape with her friends. However, one of the soldiers appears in front of her. After that, Alex sits down with Lance and Kay, tells them everything, and asks for their help to face Morgana's attack. They agree to help him. The next day, Alex and his friends head towards the city of Tanta-Chill, believing that Morgana is there, as mentioned in the book. Merlin joins them to help them reach her, using his magical powers to open a portal that quickly takes them to the archaeological site. There, Merlin makes a sword for each of them and begins training them to face Morgana. During the training, the trees turn black when Morgana controls them and attacks them. Merlin transports them at the last moment, but his strength diminishes after using magic, making him need to rest to regain his power. Lance tries to take the sword and leave, but Alex stops him. The sword is broken in the battle, and Alex is frustrated by Lance's recklessness. Alex seeks the help of the Lady of the Sea, who restores the sword to its original state. Lance apologizes and decides to stay with Alex to confront Morgana. They then encounter a team of scouts, and Alex suggests taking their horses, but they suddenly disappear. The Morgana soldiers return and chase Alex and his friends, who flee into the forest. Alex realizes that the soldiers are following the one with the sword, so he lures them to a high cliff where they fall into the water and die. In the morning, Alex visits his aunt's house to look for his father. She explains to him that his father was a failure and reckless, and that he disappeared a year ago. Alex is saddened to learn the truth and feels disappointed, but he returns to the mission after his friends encourage him. Merlin shows his support and returns the book to him, revealing the castle where Morgana lives. Alex and his friends arrive at the castle and enter through a long tunnel where tree branches attack them, but Alex manages to escape. Morgana appears and transforms into a terrifying monster, and Alex decides to confront her. He stabs her with the sword, causing her pain and destroying the place. Alex escapes with his friends, believing he has defeated Morgana. When he returns home, he sees Leah sleeping, and feels relieved for having discovered the truth, despite his sadness about his father. The next day, he wakes up and thinks about protecting the trees around his house. At that moment, Merlin comes to him and tells him that Morgana is still alive and hasn't died because Alex doesn't possess any of the knight's qualities. He tells Alex that one of the knight's qualities is to be truthful and brave, and also not to be upset with the people who love him. At that moment, Alex remembers that he is upset with Leah, so he goes to her, apologizes, and tells her about the sword. But she doesn't believe him, so Alex takes her to the lake, talks to the Lady of the Sea, and asks her to bring the sword. The sword then rises from the water, and Leah believes him. After that, Alex meets his friends, and they learn that there are only 6 hours left until the solar eclipse begins. He realizes that Morgana is still alive and will attack humans. They decide to ask the school students for help because Morgana's soldiers will be too many for them to fight alone. They go to the school, and Alex tells the students about the danger the world is in. He explains that if they don't help, Morgana will force them to fight with her. The students set traps all over the school, and Merlin starts teaching them how to use the sword. At that moment, the solar eclipse begins, and many of Morgana's soldiers come out of the ground, attacking the school. The students use the traps they made to eliminate some soldiers and keep fighting bravely. Alex notices that there are more and more soldiers, so he tells the students to go up to the school rooftop. Then Morgana appears and turns into a huge monster, breathing fire at them. Alex gets an idea and makes Morgana chase him while the students cut the ropes on her to stop her from moving. Merlin uses his magic to help them pin her down. Then Alex climbs onto the coral and cuts off her head with the sword, killing her. Finally, life goes back to normal, and the students are happy they saved the world. The next day, Alex goes to the lake and decides to throw the sword into it. Merlin talks to him and explains that his mission is over, but he will appear again if the world ever needs him. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.